Hello, I'm Harvey, host of Franchising Brand Stories.
Good afternoon. I'm Jo Morris, founder of Mini Lingos.
And welcome to Franchising Brand Stories Season 3, brought to you by FranRec, the specialist staff and executive recruiters to the UK franchise industry. This is the show where we get under the hat of some of the world's top franchise brands. So, if you're considering investing in a franchise, this show is for you. It's all about you, as McFly say. And this is to help you choose the right franchise. And when you're trying to choose a franchise and you've got so many options out there, it's important to be aligned and important to understand the stories behind the brands. And that's exactly what we do right here. Now, this is a live show. Well, it's live if it's October 24th between about 5:15 GMT and about 6 o'clock. And if you're here live, please put in a comment and we will bring it up and we will have a little chat about it. So the brand story that we're going to hear today is Mini Lingos with the wonderful Jo Morris. Jo, welcome to Franchising Brand Stories.
Thank you very much for having me, Harvey.
You're very welcome. What we do here is we like to start with telling our wonderful audience what is Mini Lingos all about. So I'm going to ask you that exact question right now. What is Mini Lingos?
Okay, thank you, Harvey. So Mini Lingos, Mini Lingos delivers musical Spanish classes for babies, toddlers, and preschool children in nursery settings. And we do that through the use of familiar children's songs and nursery rhymes. And we use props and sensory materials, parachutes, bubbles, etc. And we bring the Spanish language to life for the little ones.
Fantastic. I wish I could respond with some Spanish, but maybe if I'd been involved in this early on, I could have responded with some Spanish, but that's fantastic. Look, before we get into this, we have got a few people who have joined us here live, so it's great to have some people here live. So let's bring those people up. We've got Katrina Newman, and Katrina's put, hello, Harvey and Jo from a sunny Windsor. Looking forward to hearing from Jo. She has so much passion for Mini Lingos. Well, it's great to have you here, Katrina. Always good to have you. We have the lovely Simon Wise with us. It's fantastic to hear everyone's thought. Everyone get involved in this. Please add your comments as we go through this. And we've got Barclay Harris here. Hi there. First time joiner after multiple invites. Well, you've picked a good one, Barclay. So enjoy and let us know your thoughts as we proceed. I suppose another question to ask. Now, bearing in mind, throughout the show, we are going to be at some point going back in time with you, Jo. But try and give the listeners here an idea of where you're at today, I suppose, in terms of number of franchisees and as a business.
Okay, so I'm a new kid on the block. So whilst Mini Lingos is next month, it's its 10th birthday. We've been operating for just very, very close to 10 years. We are new to franchising, and in the summer, Mini Lingos became accredited with the British Franchise Association, and we are ready. We are ready to award our first territories to any to
Fantastic.
Individuals who have the same passion that I have, really, for running their own Mini Lingos in their own territory. So we have no franchisees at the moment. We are very new to franchising and very excited about what the future looks like.
That's fantastic, and it's great that you've run your business so many years and have chosen franchising as the model to expand with. I suppose a question that I was going to ask you is, obviously, you're looking at expanding throughout the UK and possibly other areas. And I suppose if you're a franchisee and you've got a passion for enriching young people's lives through language and play, and this is something that you want to know more about, are you open to franchise opportunities throughout the whole of the UK?
Absolutely. Yeah. We obviously, I think for initial pilot franchisees, then we're operating at the moment around the North London, Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, Middlesex areas. And what I always love is for passionate people who are interested, to be able to come and see our classes in operation, because I think it's really important that they get a flavour of what Mini Lingos is actually all about. You can read it in brochures and we can see social media posts, but until you actually feel it yourself, then I think that's what's the first stepping stone really to joining the family. So I'm absolutely open to. I would love, my dream would be for Mini Lingos to be across the country. But baby steps. For me, it's all about finding the right people. It's the quality over the quantity. And if that means taking tiny baby steps to get to find and award the right individuals, the territories, then that's what I'm about. So eventually across the country, that would be my dream. So long as they're the right people. That's the caveat to everything, really.
Great, fantastic, absolutely, and it's got to be the right people. That when you're growing something with good foundations, it's really important to recognize how you're aligned. If you're a franchisee watching this, this is what this is about. It's about whether you align with the person, with the personality, with the ideas. Let's bring up a few things that people have commented on, which is great to have these comments. People are getting involved, and this is what this was all about. Simon's put, well done for getting accredited by the BFA. Says a lot about your approach to franchising. Absolutely, Simon. Absolutely, it's a great comment.
I'd say just on that point, thank you, Simon. I have had a few comments from a few people who said, why have you done this? Why have you done it this way around? Like, normally you franchise your business, you get some franchisees on board, and then you look to become accredited. I guess I feel like I'm doing everything the other way around. We'll find out soon enough if it's the right way or not the right way. I don't know. For me personally, I operate with 5 really core values, and the 5th core value is operating ethically and with integrity. And I felt that if I can't become accredited by the BFA, which proves and sort of puts the stamp on ethical franchising, then how can I really be living and breathing my core values? So for me, it was super important to get that accreditation, to show that everything I was doing had the highest standards of ethical franchising around it. And I hope that interested individuals see that is, if you come on board, everything is
absolutely. Well, it's a fantastic place to start, and we're definitely getting into those values, because what your values are represent, and that's how people get aligned, if they really understand and enjoy the values that you have. But it's certainly a fantastic foundation and a great place to start. Well, look, thank you so much, Joe, for letting us know that fantastic introduction to what your business is and where you're at right now. If you have just joined us, this is Franchising Brand Stories, brought to you by FranRec, the specialist UK staff and executive recruiters for the franchise industry. And we are about to hear the main story, the main event, headline event for Mini Lingos. So we're just about to get into chapter 2, which is where we're going to start with where it all began. And this is really the part where we are encouraging you to get involved if you're here live. And even if you're watching this in the distant future, put a comment up and we can answer it in the future. It's clever, that, isn't it? But look, Joe, I'd like to take you back in time now. You mentioned there that your business, although new to the wonderful world of franchising, is not new to the wonderful world of business. So how did it all begin for Mini Lingos for you? What inspired you to start this business?
Okay, so I am a secondary school Spanish and business studies teacher. So I guess sort of looking ahead, it kind of made sense that because Spanish and business is what Mini Lingos is all about. However, I didn't have any of those ideas at all. I was teaching at the University of Hertfordshire at the time that my son was. I went back after I've got two boys. They come into the story. My son, who was. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. So I went back to work when my son was 3 years old. He went to nursery. I'll start there. And then when I was on maternity leave with my eldest, I took him to all the baby classes and just all the music classes that you do as a new parent. With
I remember.
And I was always looking for a language class. I couldn't find one. I know that there are lots around, but potentially in my area, I couldn't find one. I couldn't find quite what I was looking for, which was effectively a music class, but in Spanish, tailored exactly for children, for little ones. So I kind of parked that idea, and I went back to work, and then eventually, when my second was born, my eldest was 3 years old, and he was in nursery at the time. So I just had an idea. He was 6 months old, and I thought, there's a saying by Porsche, Mr. Porsche. He said that Mr. Porsche, he couldn't find the car of his dreams, so he decided to build it. And that's basically where Mini Lingos stem from. I couldn't find the music class of my dreams that combined my passion for Spanish and something for my little ones, and I decided to create it. So I took my 3-year-old was at nursery, and I set up didn't really know what I was doing, but I thought I could work it out. And I took my 6-month-old with me, and we hired a church hall, and I started using some songs I found on the internet, and things just grew from that. Anyway, one day I thought, I'll just ask the nursery manager when I went to pick up my eldest one day. I said, I've been starting running this music class in Spanish. Would you like to see what it's all about? And she was like, yes, please. And I was like, okay. I had no big dream. I had no big ideas. I had dreams, but I had no big plans. That's the word. And I did a trial class there, and that is literally the start of Mini Lingos. I never looked back. I ended up closing down my parent community class, which there are 2 reasons for that. Firstly, the model of going into nurseries just seemed so straightforward. So it just made so much sense to me. We had a ready-made class of children, and things just grew from there. In hindsight, potentially now moving into franchising, it would have been a lot more better. It would be beneficial because I would have a nice database of parent details, which I don't have really, because nurseries don't give you out those details.
Sure.
But what I do have is the sort of the real workings of how to keep nursery relationships going for 10 years, and that's really how Mini Lingos has grown since then. In a roundabout way, I hope I've answered the question.
It certainly did. And you know what? It's really interesting because I can relate as a parent, as a father, to, I don't know, I think children help inspire ideas. I think your highs and lows when you've got children in your lives, and the different things that you go through help inspire those ideas. So I think a lot of businesses emerge through those years and through the desire to help children and help your own children. I mean, I won't talk now about the idea I had for a snowmaking machine, maybe for another day.
Maybe say that for off air.
That's it. Absolutely. Well, look, we've started to talk, and we know that your business is now franchised, but you didn't franchise it at the beginning. So you grew it organically, just employing people. And at what point did you think I need to do something a bit different? And why did you choose franchising at this stage to grow your business?
Okay, so I've explored a few different avenues. Should I recruit area managers in Leicester or Nottingham or etc., or could I basically I've got to a stage in the Hertfordshire and North London area that I don't feel that there's so much more territory to cover, but I feel through franchising a business, a person who wants to come into the franchise family shows that they really care. And I have a fabulous team of teachers who really care about their classes. And I'm very particular about who joins and comes on board. But I feel that a business owner will really love and care about their business, their Mini Lingos business, and want to give it as much care and attention as I do in my area. And I feel that the best way to do that is to spread across the country, is to award territories to individuals who really want to care and grow their business for themselves, rather than just being an employee of the wider Mini Lingos family.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic answer to that question. And as you've been speaking, you've been saying a few things that really started to resonate with me about how you feel about your business. You said that you wanted people to get a flavor for things. You've said that you wanted people to feel it, join a family. You said about passion and relationships, and these are really important things when you are yourself looking to join the business. And I suppose it takes us nicely on to what sort of people are you looking for in your businesses? What sort of skills and experiences? And in fact, you know what? Before we do that, we had a comment that came in actually from we had a comment here that came up about your ability to speak Spanish. It was actually from Mike Fitton. Not meant to be a silly question, but how much Spanish do you need to know to start this franchise? Mike, a great question. Let's touch on skills and experiences here, Joe, and let's focus on, first of all, how much Spanish you need to know.
Okay, so it's not a silly question. I think it's a great question. So at the end of the day, we're an early years Spanish class. So you don't need to be a fluent Spanish speaker. You don't have to have a degree in Spanish. I would say you have to have up to, I think an A-level Spanish would be perfect. But before I go into that so much, to run the business as a franchisee, you could run it as we call sort of management franchise. So you could operate the franchise as a leader of the business and recruit Spanish speaking teachers to deliver the classes for you. So that is one option if you are passionate about the sounds of Mini Lingos, but you don't necessarily want to be delivering the classes yourself. Or not able to with the Spanish language. Part of the training, if you feel that you do have a level of Spanish, but potentially you're a little bit rusty, or you haven't done it since school, or it's always been, you know, you've loved having that language, but you've just not used it in your current career, we do offer refresher Spanish training as part of the package if you come into the franchise. That's optional. You might be very confident in your Spanish ability, and you don't need to take that offer. But the offer, the training offer is there. In terms of the Spanish language, you don't have to be fluent. I have a mixture of Spanish natives. I have a mixture of English mums who love speaking Spanish, but just didn't use it in their day-to-day job until now. But at the end of the day, you're given all the lyrics and all the song training. We're singing nursery rhymes and children's songs. The most important thing of all is to have a passion for working with children, the Spanish language, whether you can't speak, well, you have, I think it's a bit, well, I say it's crazy. I think it would be strange not to be able to speak any Spanish or not to have a passion for Spanish to come into a Mini Lingos franchise. I'll just be honest. It's certainly when you're looking at quality control of your teachers that you're managing, I think you need to there has to be some level, but you don't have to be a Spanish graduate or in that sense. Fluent, exactly. Passion, a passion for working with little ones. I think we're all teachers, we're all actors really, and I think you have to be really comfortable being a bit of a wally, being a bit silly. These are little children who want to have fun. It's all about that subliminal, have fun learning a language, and you'll go into primary school absolutely desperate to be walking into Spanish class one day. That's what we want to do. And I think if you can be really energetic and lively with the children, show them that you're having fun and that Spanish, learning the language, is fun. And that's really the most important skill that I would look for. You'll learn, you'd get all the training in all the onboarding anyway. So
of course. Yeah. But that's it. That's what people I think are looking for. You know, they need to know how much Spanish obviously they need to be speaking, but actually you talk a lot more about that passion and enthusiasm to, I don't know, to be able to see those children learn through the medium of dance and having fun, and how that relates to actually remembering a language. I mean, one thing I was going to very quickly touch on here, I remember when my children were little and taking them away, and there's kind of a universal language of play and fun, which I think this plays on a little bit, doesn't it? You know, that you don't need two people who speak different languages can still play together if they're little.
Absolutely.
And also the excitement and enjoyment of playing together enhances the want to communicate and continue that play. So I think it's very powerful, and it's very interesting to instill that into young people at that age. I think it's fantastic. Let's have a look at, we've had a few more comments come in. We've had Will Strike from the BFA, in fact. So Will's put quality over quantity is super important, especially in the early days. That was a reference to when you spoke about the fact that you wanted to get the right people into your business, and you were prepared to wait for those right people that aligned with some of these fantastic things that you've been saying today, some of those values and passions. Simon's put here, can you tell us about the curriculum? I mean, it's nursery schools. Is there a curriculum? Is that how it's based?
So curriculum as such, we have a monthly song. We have a song of the month. So we're at the moment we're term time only. That's the choice that our flagship franchise, I suppose, operates. And we run by terms, but we operate a monthly song of the month. So, for example, we're in October at the moment. No surprises. Our song of the month is Incy Wincy Spider, because that ties in really nicely with Halloween. So all the vocab words that our teachers will be delivering in classes, it will be related to the spider. I should have brought him with me on screen, but all the teachers have a lovely big spider. There's 8 legs, so we might count to 8. We might learn the words for the eyes, because the spider has 2 big eyes. He's blue, so we might learn the colours, but it's all related to the spider song. In April time, March, April time, Sleeping Bunnies would be our song of the month. No surprises, because that falls near Easter. And again, all the vocab word would be about bunny, jump, is, things like that. So Twinkle Twinkle Little Star would be our song for Christmas time. So curriculum as such, not really in that sense. We are literally songs based. And
absolutely. And I love that as well. I think,
wine popping up, you name it, we have it. And
I think it's really important, and you speak to a lot of people, and I'm fascinated with language as well, and how people learn a language, and do they start to think in another language, and I can't speak another language, and I wish I could, and I think it's wonderful you do this for young people. But the people that I do talk to that have learnt another language have often learnt it through the medium of television, particularly. And I suppose when you're younger, songs bring even more elements into that to make it fun and to make you remember these things. So I think it's fantastic. Let's have a look at a few more comments. And in fact, you know what? I think this is a good thing to look at now. So if you're a franchisee and you're looking at potentially getting involved in Mini Lingos. Now, this is before we get to the day-to-day and what you do as a franchisee. But how would that sort of journey from making that initial inquiry to signing up as a franchisee, what does that look like with Mini Lingos?
Okay, so we would have an initial phone call, and we would talk about where that person is at, what sort of time, how much time they would be interested in or looking to put into their franchise. We would then have I would then send them the franchise prospectus, which outlines all the information, financials, the training package that's involved, the training courses, the package of materials that you would receive, everything that you need. We then have another conversation and look at more detail about the financials, and then the franchise or the prospective franchisee would have to fill in. We call it a business plan, but it shows. It gives them the opportunity to really think about how would they start to market in their territory, because I don't necessarily know their territory in the way that they do. So they would have to put a little bit of thinking behind the scenes before we come back and talk about things further, because I think it's a really telling time that if a prospective franchisee isn't really prepared to even do that stage, then really they're not really necessarily that engaged in the whole process. So so they'll fill in the business plan. We'll have an opportunity to talk about things. We'll talk about their territory in more detail. I will be using a mapping company to actually map out the hotspots for where they would first do their marketing, where there are the most young people, in what particular areas of their territory and things like that. And we'd have a deeper conversation around that. And then what's really important for me is that if things progress further and they're still interested, I would love to, if they have a partner or they have somebody else that is important in their sort of decision-making process, I would love to jump on a call with both of them together to talk about the actual the workings behind running your own franchise, and just really just get to know the potential team that we would be working together with, because I think, you know, there's always influences going on behind the scenes, and I just like to know who I'm going to be working with, really, because I think
Absolutely.
it's a big commitment, and it's a commitment for both parties, for myself as the franchisor and also for the franchisee coming on board. So there has to be a fit, and I would rather we had enough more meetings than necessary, but to feel that the fit was right, than come on board and it not feel right. So
completely agree with you, and it's so important when you're making this decision. If you're a prospective franchisee watching this today or listening to this in the future, it's very important to get those different perspectives, to talk to your family members, to talk to other businesses, to talk to anybody, to give you that different perspective to make sure you're making the right decision. And you said another thing about working hard. There's sometimes a misconception in franchising that because you're handed across a model that's proven, that you don't have to work hard, but it's absolutely not the case. You have to work hard in a franchise business, but you've got the support and you've got the model, so that when you do work hard, you've got a much better chance of succeeding. So it's fantastic that you look for people that, you know, that want to work hard with you. And I'm sure, as someone who's been running a business for 10 years at this point, is no stranger to working hard. We've got a little comment come up here, actually, from Katrina, and I want to put this one up because it's great when people are involved live, and I think this is a really interesting one. We've started to touch upon what that journey looks like, what type of people you're looking for. But obviously, when you get into your business, probably part of this is you've got to go and find some of that business. And Katrina's comment here is, how will you help your franchisees get over any concerns they have about having to sell? A good question. How do you help support your franchisees in trying to get that business at the beginning?
So really good question. So we have scripts. There is new business training, part of the training package. There's a half-day new business training that is part of onboarding. We would do practice phone calls. You have scripts that you would follow. You then have follow-up email scripts that you would send on to nurseries. And really, you have to be a bit tough as well, because I've actually never I've never called it sales. I've always called it new business development, because I've never felt that I've been selling Mini Lingos. Maybe it's because I feel like it's a no-brainer that a nursery should have Mini Lingos as one of their extracurricular activities. It's just loved. It's loved when it's watched and seen and enjoyed and experienced. So I don't actually feel that it's selling. I just feel that I'm not really answering the question. It's new business, and I think if you're prepared for nurseries to turn around and say, "I'm sorry, we don't have any budget," it's maybe something that we'll look at when we review our extracurricular offering. Let's come in for a trial, but no, thank you. We're not looking for someone at the moment. If you're prepared to sort of go through that and then just pick yourself up again and say, you know what, that's fine. You know, maybe we'll come back to them eventually, but if they're not ready for us, that's fine. There's so many nurseries out there and so many children to reach that selling is hard, but I don't feel, if you've got a passion, I don't feel that if you're selling, if you're...
I think you're absolutely right, and I think that
I've answered the question, but
I think you've answered the question beautifully. I think that when you get to a point where you don't feel you're selling something, that's the point you've got to, because you're completely immersed in it. You completely believe in it, and you know it's adding value, and therefore you're telling people about it. And hopefully they're in line with the passion that you have. And you do need a bit of resilience for that. But I love that. I think it brings us neatly on to another question here. But if you have just joined us, this is Franchising Brand Stories, brought to you by FranRec, the specialist staff and executive recruiters to the UK franchise industry. And today we are hearing what's under the hat. I'm going to do it again, of Mini Lingos. So we're hearing the story behind Mini Lingos with the wonderful Joe Morris. And it's been a fascinating story so far, a story of lots of different characters and resilience, and a story where franchising has come in a little later than sometimes it does, which is fantastic, because it really shows that the foundation of any franchise business is a proven model. You've really made sure that you've grown your business, and that but then even when you were so confident with your business, you still reached out to the BFA and made sure that you had those strong foundations again when you go into franchising. So fantastic. Let's have a little think. I mean, you've already touched on some of these things, about who you might want in your network. Are they teachers? Are they are they people who have got a passion for a particular industry, or are they people that have just aligned with a set of values? I've written down a few. You've got to be resilient. You've got to have that passion, that energy, that enthusiasm, and I think it must come from seeing young people grow in confidence and enjoy themselves within those lessons. And that goes all the way through. But I suppose, who do you want in your franchise network with those thoughts in mind?
Yes, thank you. So I think I would say there's three. When I've done so much marketing, who's your ideal client? Well, I've got about 3 ideal clients, I reckon. I would say the first one would be a languages teacher, a Spanish teacher who has had enough of the classroom, ready to run their own business, or maybe they don't realize they want to run their own business, but ready to leave the stresses and the planning and the headache of the classroom, which I did. So potentially a Spanish teacher, primary, secondary, as long as they got that passion. The second one would be a parent who's maybe looking to go back, looking to return to work after having young children themselves, and they want something that fits in with their life, really, in a way that more traditional 9-to-5s potentially wouldn't allow them to have that drop off at school and pick up. And I'd say the third ideal client would be someone who is already in a career, but maybe doesn't use their Spanish, used to speak Spanish, used to use it at school, hasn't used it since university, something like that. And really, they've got that sort of like internal niggle that they loved it, but it just isn't something that they've been using in their current career. And maybe they're just at that sort of point in their sort of, midlife crisis type point that they're ready for a change. So
cool. Absolutely. And if you've got this burning desire in you, if you have this language in you and you want to use it, apart from when you go for an occasional holiday to Spain, you want to show off, but if you can use it for something that's so fantastic and something that brings a lot of joy to the next generation, then I guess that's where you're looking. I suppose it brings us on to another question. That's the type of people that you're looking for. And I bring this question up actually as to where you look for those people, because if someone's looking for this helps them direct themselves as to where they should go for you to find them. I mean, you mentioned teachers, but something like parents is a tricky one. I suppose it's just getting the name out there. But where do you find your new franchisees, or where are you planning to find your new franchisees?
So this is an interesting point, and this is when I said a while ago how it would have been very helpful if I'd have kept my community class running all those years ago, because I would have had a network of parents who who I could have marketed out to, which
Sure.
I didn't. But there's pros and cons for everything. I feel that social media is going to be a way of reaching the parents side of things, and also LinkedIn for teachers and professionals who are using that platform. And really, it's slowly but surely getting the brand name out there that we might be new kids on the block, but we're very secure and confident in the brand and the value that it brings to little ones, and hopefully with some strong marketing, then hopefully we will find award territories to the right people. Watch this space.
Fantastic. We're going to touch now on, I want people who are interested in this to briefly understand what the day might look like. Do you sort of get up in the morning? I guess if it's a management franchise, you're working on the business. If you're heavily involved in it, you're going to classes. Can you give people who are considering this as a franchise an idea as to what a day in the life of a franchisee might look like in the future?
Sure. Okay, so let's assume that you're a hands-on franchisee and you're delivering classes yourself. You might be a parent that needs to drop your child off at school. Then you might go to the office and make some phone calls, some new business calls, not sales calls, new business. And this is in the early days. Or do some invoicing, some admin, or you might be going straight to your nursery class if you've got your contracts already in place. It's very unlikely. Well, you will start small, but you will grow quickly because the word will get around in your area, as it has done in our area. So we're very rarely in one nursery for one class. We might be in a nursery for 4 classes, sometimes depending on the size of the nursery. You'll then maybe leave the nursery, go for some lunch, take the dog for a walk, whatever you need to be doing, and then there's admin in the afternoon. Quite often it's a quiet time between 12 and 2 because little ones in nurseries are sleeping. So that's the busiest time for us in nurseries is in the morning. But something I haven't mentioned is that I keep talking about nurseries, and how I closed the community classes. That's not to say that is another revenue stream as a franchisee. So what I noticed with some other children's activity franchises is that the community classes are the busiest of their revenue. We're sort of the other way round. I would say Mini Lingos nursery classes would be the bulk of your revenue. And then another stream would be potentially you would run a community class in those quieter periods of time, maybe a 2 till 2:30 for a toddler group, and then you pack away and you go to your own pick up your children. Or if you don't have children to collect, maybe a 4 till 4:30 for slightly the later time in the day. So I would say that's worth mentioning that there are also other revenue streams other than just being in a nursery setting, but it's not the focus because Mini Lingos is about I want it to be the vision is to be the nursery provider of early years language classes. So
focus.
Yeah. Absolutely. So the day is varied, but
it's varied and clearly very flexible as well, which is really important when you're considering this and you're looking at your work-life balance, that you can get that flexibility. Look, one of the things, obviously new to franchising, but not new to running this fantastic business and new to inspiring children and meeting people in your business. I imagine over the 10 years, you've met some real characters or had some examples of some quite life-changing stories, I would imagine. And it's something that I always love to ask, because especially a franchise business like this, it really can change someone's life if they start to learn a new language. Have you must have many, but are there any sort of stories that stick out in your mind when you've been using the Spanish language and music and teaching children over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple. One sticks out to me is that you're always going to get knockbacks when you run your own business, and it's about having the resilience to pick yourself up. And I'd not long had a conversation with somebody who said, honestly, Joe, you know, they said, they're only like two. They can't even speak English. You know, what are you doing running Spanish, sort of thing. We don't speak very much anymore. No, I'm only joking. And, you know, and I was really like, you know, they're really sort of like drains and radiators. They kind of really, it was a real drain to me. I was like, but no, they can speak Spanish. You know, they can speak Spanish. And then, so that person put a real dampener on things for me. And literally 24 hours, I received a video on my Mini Lingos Instagram page from a parent who'd recorded, they'd got my details from the website, and they'd recorded their child singing one of the songs.
Oh.
And they said, I hope you don't mind me messaging, but I don't know what they're singing about. Could you tell me? And I was like, yes, that's Sleeping Bunnies. That's so exciting. And then we've kept this dialogue going, and she's been sending me videos. So for the last couple of years, he's at primary school now. And now the little daughter, the younger sister, is now in the same nursery that the brother was in. And she's enjoying Spanish, and the mum's sending me videos of her daughter now as well. So that's really heartwarming, because I had a real sort of drain moment, and then this sort of like radiator mum sort of like pick things up again, which was lovely. And then just some of the joy that we get when we go into nurseries. I had one little girl said, I was doing the class in the garden, and she was like, Spanish. Every time I say, you know, I might say my name's Joe, and they just call me Spanish every week. Spanish, Spanish. Look, I can see a mariposa over there, and that's a butterfly. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So little things like that, and just the joy that the little ones give you when you walk in. They say, "Hola's here, hola's here, hola's here," and again they call me Spanish or hola, and the same for all our teachers. So it's just seeing the joy on little faces, feel the love of the language is just really heartwarming and beautiful to see.
Oh, that's lovely. I think that's fantastic, and I think it's really powerful as well. And I think that sort of summarizes the passion and what you can get from doing a franchise like this, and from being involved in teaching young people a new language. Even if you're doing that from a management point of view, you still get to experience those stories. So thank you. It's fantastic. Well, look, we've come to the end of the main section of today, and it's been a fantastic story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us, Joe. If you have just joined us today, this is Franchising Brand Stories. Today, we heard the story of Mini Lingos, and it's been brought to you by FranRec, specialist staff and executive recruiters to the UK franchise industry. So we're going to head into sort of chapter 3, the last chapter today. Now, this is all where you give us the Franchising Brand Stories exclusive. Okay, so this is all about what's happening in the future. And it's really exciting and really interesting, because as a business that's been about for many years, but new to franchising, everything's about the future. So what sort of things are coming up for you, apart from getting lots of lovely new franchisees that want to help and grow children learning a new language? Are there any exciting things that are coming up for Mini Lingos in the coming weeks and months?
Yes, there are actually. November's quite an exciting month. We are. We're shortlisted for 2 awards. One of them is a What's On for Kids award for the most loved academic franchise or business we're up for one of those awards, so that's very exciting. Shortlisted for that, and also what is super exciting for Mini Lingos and means a lot to me is we've been shortlisted as Supplier of the Year for the Nursery Management show, which is also in November, and being shortlisted as a supplier to the early years industry is really special, because that's exactly what we've been doing, working as a supplier, and fingers crossed for November for that.
Wow, so early on in the franchising journey to be nominated, and whether you win or not, being nominated for these awards is such a privilege and such an honor, and it really shows the fact that people are paying attention to what you're doing, they're interested, and they want to celebrate it. So I love that, and well done for the nominations.
Thank you.
What I have done now is I've put a QR code top left hand side of your screen, which will take people to Mini Lingo's franchising website. So please scan that now or in the future to learn a little bit more. We are going to talk about what's going to be happening next week. Before I do that, Joe, I just want to give you a chance to leave any final thoughts with our viewers about your business and about getting in touch and all those sorts of things.
Just really, if you have just our core values, if you have the fun, the passion, the confidence, and you can provide excellence in everything you do, and you are excited about sharing your passion for the Spanish language with the little ones, I would love to chat to you. No hard sales, because I don't like selling and I'm not a salesperson. But if you just want to chat, then reach out. I always love a good chat. As you know, I'm talking. So, please feel free to reach out, and
Brilliant. Well, look, please do. And if you've got a love of languages and you want to inspire another generation, then please reach out to Joe and Mini Lingos. Well, I would like to thank everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who's been here live. I'd like to thank everybody who's looking at this in future. And I'd like to thank you, Joe, for your time and for sharing your story with us, because it's been a great one. So thank you so much for that. So don't forget, next week on the Franchise Show, we will be talking franchise foundations. It's a very important one. It's one we touched on today, and about getting those foundations right before you start to franchise. And that will be with the lovely Julie Waite. So please join us next Tuesday, 5:15. That's on the 29th of October. Now we have come to the end of another fantastic season of Franchising Brand Stories, and we've heard some incredible stories. I'd really like to thank all the guests on season 3 for sharing their stories with us. And if you've got an inspiring story about your brand, then please reach out to us, because we're booking now for 2025. And please join us for next season of Franchising Brand Stories, which is going to be starting early November, where we will find out what's under the hat of some more fantastic brands. So until next time, my friends, take very good care.